Julie has called in from Idaho. Julie, thanks for calling Truth Wanted.
Well, hello, good evening. I will get right to the point. I've
Okay.
recently been out of the JW, just about a year or so.
Congratulations.
When they, oh, thank you. Well, so when I saw the Supreme Court being nominated and looking into it and the abortion scenario, why, it just gave me chills down my spine because I've been in a situation where, I had to have an abortion. And if somebody gets in there and they take away the rights of a young girl who doesn't know what's going on and they did not have a choice of what happened to them, and they force them to, like everyone says, okay, I'll back it up. Well, I believe that the right of having an abortion is extremely important because there's a lot of children that are so unwanted already. There's no reason to bring more into this world that are not going to get cared for. And I really wanted to bring it up just before the election here because it's being brought up so much. So,
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we're talking a lot of politics tonight on Truth Wanted, which is, I get it. It's kind of tense. We got the election next week and stuff. But I hear you, Julie. There is a sinister apologetic that kind of says, it goes along this idea of, well, children are kind of like your punishment for having sex before you were married or irresponsibly or whatever. Like, children are your burden for having sex, essentially. And what an awful way to just, one, think about children as this way of like a consequence, but also just like the responsibility that you put on someone who was put in undue circumstances in having a child and saying you have to live with these consequences for the rest of your life. And it doesn't just affect you, it affects the child or children, if we're talking about twins or whatever, that and affects their life too. That's messed up. That's messed up on an entirely undeniably unthinkable level. And I will never understand the people that put out this idea that, oh, like, this is your fault for having to do this. And it's deplorable. It's disgusting. I hate it. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of thoughts there.
Okay. Another point I'd like to add is at the time that I had the abortion, I was still very much religious. And it gave me such creepy, horrible nightmares, thinking that I had just killed somebody, how bad a person I was, how dare I, and then I lived with this guilt for years and years. Yeah. And now to figure out that, what? That's wrong stinking thinking.
Yeah, it is wrong stinking thinking, especially when we have the contraceptive stuff that we have now. It's not wrong to use a contraceptive, despite what the Catholic Church might say. Like, it's for society's benefit. Unless you have some sort of religious notion against it, there really isn't a reason not to use a condom or any other. Well, I mean, there's stuff with the pill, right? There's but like any person carrying the tools can use a condom, and yeah, I don't know, there's nothing to feel ashamed of for that. But Dave, you got some thoughts?
I mean, that's the funniest part to me, is that like Republicans are so against social services and like socialized medicine and like taking care of the citizenry in general. So why do they then want every potential child to be born? You know what I mean? It's just like so contradictory. Like, you don't want to take care of them, but you need for them to be alive. Like,
absolutely.
Pick a side, man. Like, it's so ridiculous.
But
I actually heard a funny thing. It was just like a joke on Twitter or something, but it said, I'm probably butchering it, but it said something to the effect of, instead of worrying about abortion rights for women, why don't we give every male a vasectomy at puberty, and then when they become ready to have children, reverse the vasectomy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is obviously ridiculous, but it's just sort of like, why is this exclusively a problem for women? Like, why don't men have to worry about this? Like,
it's so unfortunate.
It's
it's an unfortunate part of our evolution as humans as well. Like if I was designing people, I would never let a 14-year-old have the ability to get pregnant.
right.
Period. There's no good outcomes with that. Like you're at a disadvantage no matter how you look at that. Go ahead, Julie.
Yeah. So I have one last point.
Okay.
Well, another thing to add about contraception. I wrote down notes here. I wanted to make sure we got all the way around my thought bubble. Well, the contraception, I got to say, my sister had Norplant, 10 of them in her arm, and she still got pregnant. So I'm not totally confident in the contraceptives that they use for the pill or Norplant or any other type of contraceptive they want to give you chemically. I'm not comfortable with it at all. When a condom breaks, you know it, right?
Well, I guess, yeah. I don't know. I hope one day we can have like a male contraceptive where we can take a pill too. You know, I think everybody talks about that being a thing. I don't know what the research is on it, but
They had that though. They had been developing or had developed one, and it was really funny watching like the male response to it. Like God forbid this should ever be a male problem.
I
You
know,
what I mean?
I know.
Like, I don't want to deal with it either. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with it, but that only women should have to deal with it is obviously not fair, you know?
Yeah, not fair, not fair. And I hope, Julie, I hope for women everywhere or anybody that has the ability to get pregnant, however they identify, like I hope that those rights aren't taken away because it would be a grave social ill, I think, if that would happen. Not even getting to the economics of it, not even getting into just all the facets that of how it's a bad idea. It's just unequivocally not great. But Julie, thanks so much for calling about this particular issue, and I appreciate your perspective. Like again, we don't get super political on this show, but we are talking about the science of this a little bit. And there's a lot of lies that comes out there about what exactly goes on. And please look up from like reputable medical sources on exactly what happens during this process. Like how like surprisingly safe that this thing is. It's safer to get an abortion than to go through a pregnancy. Full stop. Like
Of course.
And don't, please don't fall for these crisis pregnancy centers. If you are looking for help, please get your help from a reputable source, wherever that may be in your area of the world. But yeah, I hate to end this show on kind of a downer, Dave, but like we are kind of running out of time here. But it's important that we talked about what we did, I think.